0718 on the UK time. 06062026. RATLINES. Yes. Let's give me a second. Let me get everything together. I want to put let me get myself together. 1 second. Now, this one's titled The RATLINES. So I want to take us back to, around the time of the Nuremberg trials. Yeah. And and the creation of Israel. Yeah. And I get a cosmic revelation. Yeah, man, 9. Right? You get a cosmic revelation. And I think to myself, with all what's going on, it seems as if, right, this kind of word domination, or like the Nazis, yeah, the Nazis, the Nazis, the nasties, yeah, call them the nasties, because I don't know if you understand. So you know what I'm saying, yeah. Them. Yeah, ones that wear the swastika and that. Yeah. Now there's there's positive and negative, because believe you me, right? Believe you me, that army, right? That army was a a 3-letter word, my favorite word. Wow. They were wow. The speed of that army, yeah, the speed on which that they maneuvered, even run away too, yeah, they run, but it changed the face of warfare. As in, like the Blitzkrieger, pure speed. If you think the Zulus were a formidable opponent, which they was. Remember, the Zulus, like most things we do as humans, is nature we go to. Okay, it's nature. For an example, we have the word for a plane is, my granddad and those would call it the flying bird, shaped like a bird. Okay, right, shaped like a bird. So the speed, like the cheetah. Yeah. So that mimicry, right, was effectively used by the Germans. Yeah. Absolutely dangerous. The only one. Okay. Now we have to give thanks because a lot of countries suffered because of that speed. Okay, you know, they're coming and then they're there. So back to the Zulus. The Zulus use the nature when they're coming, the stampede. So you would hear them, you know, you'd hear the vibration. You'd hear the vibration of them. Okay, the redcoats. They heard them. Hold the line. Hold the line. And shout out to Sion as well, yeah? Shout out to Sion. Big up Roots. Yeah, man, big up Rootica. Big up the whole crew. JD, Trini, you know what I mean? Digo Dallas. Yeah, man, shout out to my son too. You know what I mean? Flames. Yeah. Mommy and daddy and thing, you know, everyone, respect. See? So, with that speed that they move, but the thing, when I look at, say, for an example, a lot of those people that occupy, that are in that land there, right, at the moment, and across the globe, right? I'm gonna go into it because there's no doubt that many of the Führer's men escaped and moved to different areas of the globe. And what they brought with them, I think there's even a movie about this. I'm sure there is a movie, and they undercover changed their name, like the Israelites. They changed their name. Shout out to the Weeping Rabbi. Yeah, man, my brethren for over 20 years. The man that delivered the pearl necklace. Not on me though, on the gal in there. The blood clean. So, name changing. Now, even when you look at today, it's like from a man is, say, white, is included. But that don't mean that he's from wherever he said he's from. So, with the persecution and that, right, which would have also, the persecution started back on the Germans, you know, like Dresden and that. So when the war was over, another war kind of started, yeah. Okay, so there's the other war that it hasn't stopped, the Cold War. Okay, they're trying to tell you Russia this, Russia that, you know what I mean? And no, Russia never do me nothing. Do you know what I mean? Right? As far as I'm concerned, I have to stay out of that, because if any black countries are fighting against you, I don't hear no one come ask me if they're gonna help me, or you don't see me helping them either. See? right? 'Cause I just detest the war. You know what I mean? It's all about peace. Can't live like that. And they know that. And it will never work. Because they try these things over and over again and it don't work. You know, you're going against nature. Yeah, you're going against nature. Nature is the ultimate. So many people escaped the Nuremberg trials, escaped the judgment, and went to different areas of the world. You had the angel of death down in Argentina. Many of them South American countries. Now, this is my opinion. It's not fact-based, right? So you could say, but I'm not misinformation, right? Because it is my thing. Fair enough. I've never been there. So you can't take what I'm saying 100% because I ain't got my evidence. Yeah, this is just a theory. It's a hypothesis. And many hypotheses are correct at one point and then they're corrected again. They are corrected again. And if I'm wrong, I accept my wrong. Warren Buffett said, when I'm wrong, I change my mind. You understand? If someone comes and says, boom, boom, fair play, fair play. Okay? 1 second. So my question, okay, I put into Gemini, yeah? How the Nazis moved or escaped, allowed to leave to other areas. Give example, is the Israel Zionists, are they DNA linked to Germany with the swastikas, you know, the Führer's men? I don't want to say the word, the N word, yeah? The other one, Nazis, them one there. You know, like the ones that you, when you see Harry, that's when I said, boy, this kind of hatred is very, it's never gonna go away. It's never gonna go away. And I always say, like, you got the tiger in the jungle and the lion in the savannah. You got butterflies, yeah. You got different color butterflies, but they only mate with their own. They don't. Nature set that. It is unfortunate, but nature sets it that things are supposed to be in certain places, right? And the empire, the English Empire, is responsible, right, for going to areas of the planet, right? Right, that they could not stay there, right? Just like when they're going to Mars, like when they're going to the moon. Why don't they just go there, you know, physically, like how we are now, walk up there and see what happens? Yeah, you know, they'd just be, you know, just be dust. You'd just be dust. They don't want you there. Shout out to Tar, man, Tarkinu Nupu and all the new, you know what I mean, all the new people, them respect. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody. Right? But you know, because even know what that meant there. See, so that one's for you, my brethren, yeah? Yeah, man. Right? You know, so I'm a black man. I'm supposed to be in a hot place. You know, that's where the majority of the black people are. That's in Africa. So that is my natural thing. That's my natural habitat. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. To say such a thing. There's nothing wrong to say, okay, Caucasians live in a certain area. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, your home is your home. My home is my home. But the problem is, people want to have it. They want to be unfair with what they want. You see, right? Like Harry dressed up like a German soldier went to a fancy dress party, and from that day, I said, he just, because I you know, I used to always think, right, those boys will come up and will have a little different, you know, vibes. No. Sadly, I was sadly mistaken, you know, right? Okay, and there's nothing wrong with you wanting the best for your people. That is right. You understand? You want your you know, you want your people to survive. For me, it's only black people don't learn. They don't learn. What have happened to them for them not to learn? They will never learn until a certain time. It won't be like that forever. Understandable. But they don't. They, you know, you're talking about the ones that were in the concentration camp. They never forget that, and they should never. They wouldn't never. I'll bring in Afghanistan. You can't change those people. Shout out to Afghanistan. You don't leave them people alone. Even Rambo went over there and they nearly kill him. Nothing run. Rambo. Sylvester Stallone. See, I'm bringing a movie into it, but I'm just saying, those people will not change. They will rather not be here than to live under a different thing. And good, there's nothing wrong with that. Why are you going to another place and trying to tell people what to do? It's not right. It's not right. And it's not like to say you can live there. You know, the yellow fever. Right, I was watching the film, just started it with the great Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas. There's a couple of other people in it as well, great actors, yeah? And he's building a bridge, okay? And he built bridges in Asia. So he was going to the guy, well, I built one in Asia. And the guy said to him, no, but this is Africa. There's a difference. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm saying they're both different. Asia, most of this is very fruitful, right? So across the whole globe, okay, many plants, many spices and everything that come from Asia. right? But there's a difference. If you look at the Asian elephant and you look at the African elephant, there's one. They're both different. They're different. Cousins, but they're different. So the reply is you are asking about several distinct historical topics that sometimes get tangled together in alternative history theories or misinformation. So let's break down into the actual facts of how history played out, separating the real post-World War II Nazi escapes from the histories of Israel, Jamaica, and Argentina, because you have German towns in Jamaica. Yeah. You have white people, the white, okay. And their origins are from Germany. And they're in Jamaica. They are Jamaican. They are Jamaican. Okay, maybe the only ones that wasn't Jamaican was the one that came there the first, but the others that were born there, they were born there. They were born there. If they said they were born in for an example, France, yeah, it's a lie. Like me, I was born here. My mum and dad is Jamaican. I would never, but I can't say I'm born in. That's a lie. I'm not. Right? I'm not born in Jamaica. I was born in the East End. I'm an East Ender. The bowl bells would ring. You could hear it you understand? Wherever the bowl bells ring and you could hear that sound, you are an East Ender. So we have how the Nazi escaped the RATLINES, right? So the RATLINES, okay? So when Nazi Germany fell in 1945, thousands of war criminals and officers successfully fled Europe to evade justice. They did not leave openly, they used a secret. This organized network of escape routes, known historically as the RATLINES. The RATLINES. The routes were two primary pathways out of Europe. The first went from Germany through Francoist Spain. Yeah, shout out to Spain. But remember that is their right hand again, you know. Yeah, you had another one. Is it Tito? You had many rulers that joined the Führer. Yeah, listen, there's dark history. Or white history, white. This ain't dark, this is white people versus white. They fight the most. They fight each other. But when it comes to building something, they come together. So, as I said, there's positive and negatives, and there's things that, especially the black people, could learn from other people by taking certain pages out of their thing and applying it. Yeah, applying it. Some things. So we have the second. So we had the first one was to Spain. Yeah, Germany through Francoist Spain, right? Franco, right? The one from Madrid. Yeah. And then you had the second ran from Germany down through the Alps into Italy, Rome and Genoa. Now we know Mussolini was down there. And what did the Italians do to Mussolini? They mash him up. Listen. When you talk about the hatred, yeah, the hatred, right? Another one you got to look at is Romania. When that man in Romania was cheating the people. Shout out to Romania. Yeah, they got links to Rome as well. It's in the name, Romania. We're talking about before Vladimir Pale, well, after Vladimir, you know what I mean? They had some terrible rulers. Vladimir Pale, Dracula, that is Dracula. That is Dracula. Transylvania. Right? So, and even look at some of like the Italians are now, they, you know, look at the football. They'll have black players on there, and Spain, and everywhere. They'll have black players, and they will call their own players a monkey. Their own players. And who do I say is wrong? I say it's the black players. I know, because you see, football is another thing. I'll do a show on about the football, yeah? I'm going to do a show about the football. I'm going to do one about that. Right? So we'll leave that one to one side. Okay? We'll leave that one to one side. So we have fugitives boarded ships, yeah? So we have places like Genoa, Rome, and Spain has been mentioned in the routes. Now, the help they received, fleeing Nazis relied heavily on forged identity papers, some sympathetic elements within the Catholic clergy. I'm telling you. That's why you won't see me with no Abrahamic. You understand? I grew up as one, but you won't see me touch them kind of thing because of what their history is. I'm not saying that the movement or the sect or whatever you want to call it, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's people, right? The people have a history. Now, it's not the normal people. You can't say it's these people, yeah, right? But you find it's a minority that were doing wrongs in all three of the Abrahamic faith, yeah? Thou shall not, KILL. And what do they do? Not everyone, but some. So it's fair to say some knew, some didn't know. Okay, someone's using false documents. And as I said, it's very difficult to say, oh, that person is from there. That person's from here. Yeah? Because you can't even look at the surname and say, right, that person's surname, because sometimes people change their name. They change their name. Right? People change their name. For whatever reason they do. They change their name. Like myself, my surname is White. Right? One of the most popular names. Yeah? White. I met a guy called Mr. Brown. Shout out to Mr. Brown. Yeah, man. Mr. Brown and Mr. Brown used to go one side and he's my manager and we're laughing at each other. You know what I mean? Like, boy, look how my name is White and your name is Brown and you're a white man and I'm a black man. Funny, innit? You know? But I didn't go into it with him. I just left it as that. Yeah? As I said, I hope Mr. Brown is okay. You understand? As I said, many of the times people have up someone, but they personally have never experienced any kind of, you know, those people, whoever they don't like, have never done them anything personally. That doesn't mean that nothing doesn't happen. That doesn't mean, you know, obviously we know how things work, yeah. But you can't blame a person for other people's actions, can you? Or with all. Well, anyway, right? You can, because it does happen, but it's not right. It's not right. Now, where's my? Wow, getting lots of rain. And so we have the help they received. Yeah, we had the mention of the forged identity papers. We had the mention of the Catholic clergy, right? Institutions like the Red Cross, yeah, and the Red Cross, and the Red Cross. You see, the Red Cross nearly got a little, you know, but I see that I missed that bit. Now, sometimes knowingly, sometimes not known, issued false civilian passports and travel documents. So the destination, Argentina, was a primary destination because the president at the time was Juan, which is John, right? Juan Perón, Peron, Perón. Englishman would say Perón, 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 Perón. Yeah, Perón. They openly welcomed German military and scientific minds. And also, again, we have to look at the excellence of the German military and the scientists. Even to this day, the engineering, the German people is a great nation of people. It's not a people to really be sniffed at like that. You understand? You can't sniff at them like that because when they do their stuff, they do it good. They're very good like that. Like the Japanese, they're another one. Everyone possesses greatness, right? Everybody possesses a greatness. But for an example, the black man drive the German cars. They love it. You know, the cars, for an example. They're brilliant. They're brilliant at what they do. And they was brilliant. You see, if they put their mind to do positive things, it's different. But if they go for the negative, it's the same way. It's the same thing applied. Listen, I'm not saying all of the people. Look, the black people have another one. The Nigerians are the same way. He's a very clever black man, that. We're all clever, but boy, I tell you, they ain't easy. If they put their mind to a positive thing, I'm telling you, not easy people. The Chinese, same way. The Chinese, not easy people. We all possess this. We all possess this, yeah? So, Argentina, right? That's a destination. So, here's my my correction there, right? So I got a little backup there, right? You had the man, the infamous war criminal like Adolf Eichmann. Listen. Just the mention of these people's name, you could physically have a heart attack and drop down, book cold, stone finished, just by the name. Eichmann's coming. Just like when the Red Army come to Germany, you know, right? The Russians win the Second World War. Is the Russians win that war? They're the ones that lost all the people as well. Sacrificed their own. They did a lot of bad. I tell you that Stalin, Stalin never ramped, right? And Stalin was more of you see, Stalin is more ethnic Russian, because the Russians mix up as well. The Russians mix up. When you see the white side of the Russian, that is like, that's the mix. You got the proper Russian. They look like they're the family from the Genghis Khan. The Mongols. These are dangerous people. Not to be messed with. Not to be messed with. Posiba. Hadasho. Kagdila. I used to work with the Russians. Shout out to Michael, the kickboxer. Listen. one of the dangerousest white man I know. He's a Russian man. He's a kickboxer, Michael. Shout out to Michael. Yeah, and his family. He have his son and his wife. Shout out to you. I hope he's still about. Michael, kickboxer. When he lifted his leg up, it was like I lift my arm up to reach to the ceiling. That's how perfect it was when he showed me the kick. Boom! And this man it was about 6 foot plus. He was nearly 7 foot. He's a terrible. I saw Audley Harrison's brother, and I thought Audley Harrison looked big. You know what I mean? But it was his brother. I said, boy, that physique. He was just so slim, but he had the height and the muscles. He was athletic. Athletic. Do you know what I mean? Streamliner. Shout out to Michael. All right, so that is the beauty of being in a place like the UK, because you're going to meet people from different parts of the globe. You won't find that nowhere else. Well, you could, but it's unique. And I'm not going to say the whole of the UK. In London, it is a unique thing. It is unique, right? Anyway, so you had Adolf Eichmann. Now, this man was the architect of the Holocaust. Now, a minute of silence for that. A minute of silence for the Holocaust, mate. I don't care what anyone says. A minute silence. Or more than a minute. Now, the other one, right? Now, it's hard to kind of really pick like who was worse than the other, who was bad. You could even say that. But these two people here that I'm going to mention, you had Adolf Eichmann and Joseph Mengele. Joseph. The man's name is Joseph. Yeah. They call that man the angel of death. I'll have a look and see what he used to do with his experiments on the people. Yeah. Have you ever seen, I think there's an experiment I see they do, right? They, well, it might not be true, right? Because, you have to be careful about what you see because you don't even know if it's true. You know what I mean? Because we've got AI now. But the question is, how long has, they've had that for a long time. You understand? Everything is filtered very small to us, to the public, because it's dangerous. And it all starts from the military. Everything starts from the military. Photography, filming, AI, computers, right? They use it for the negativity, right? If they use it for positive, you imagine. And even though they're using things for negative, there's many positive things that are happening, right? With even the fight of cancer, maybe in the next 10 years, it's gone. It's gone. It's fair to say they may have had the cure for all these things, but because of the big business of medicine and that, they don't want to give you the cure. So anything that comes out now, it just they not just found out about that. A long time, maybe 50 years to 50 years that they filter it out to people, to the general public. And the biggest question is, where are they now? What capabilities they have? Could they only show us what they want? And why should they show us? You see? As I said, there's always a positive and negative. There's always one, you know what I mean? There's many different sides to things, you know what I mean? Right? So now the question of the Israel Zionist DNA linked to German Nazis, yeah? Right? So it's a big no. It's a big no, Gemini said. Big no. Now, I don't necessarily believe that, but again, I haven't taken the DNA, and I'm giving it that reason to say, well, people can change their name, and because someone is white skinned, they can you know what I'm saying? Right? A German could be could say he's a Jew, he's a Jewish man, right? So let's say I've been corrected, yeah? I've been corrected. Solely on the reason that I haven't got my evidence to say different. Okay, right? I haven't got the evidence. So for now, it's a big no until I get my evidence. Yeah? So the AI said there is no genetic or ideological link between the Zionist Israels and the German Nazis, yeah? This is a common piece of modern political misinformation. That's what he's telling me. Okay. So this is saying the reality is the Zionism is a Jewish nationalist movement that began in the late 19th century and long before the Nazi Party even existed, with the goals of establishing a homeland for the Jewish people. The history, the Nazis viewed the Jewish people as subhuman race, and there's a German word here, is Untermenschen. Untermenschen. Right, and systematically slaughtered, right, and it's given a figure of 6 million European Jews during the Holocaust. Yeah. So the state of Israel is built largely by survivors of the Holocaust and Jewish refugees fleeing persecution. Now, for me, right, Israel, that was created by the British. Is they go down there and said, right, move them there, right? They have a part to play in that creation, right? Not to say that they didn't originate it. They didn't originate the movement. The people them from their book was meant to go back to the promised land, right? But they were aided. They were aided there, and who had their fingers in the pot? So this was built, right? They're saying that originally it was built largely by the survivors of the Holocaust, Jewish refugees fleeing the persecution. Now, even from what they have achieved, being around is tremendous. You have to say, even what they're doing today, like, to be honest, they're surrounded by enemies, yeah, of their faith, okay, right? And none of them have done anything about it. Their own people, they are attacking, right, a people that is, you understand, is a part of their religion, and no one done nothing about it. They're still doing it. But as I said, you gotta think, well, boy, you know, they're doing their thing, because, you know, no one ain't doing nothing about it. They won't do anything. They can't. Well, they can. You understand? And I don't want it to happen. I don't want it to happen. No, I want peace. Now, again, just like I said about the Germans and the movement, you know, the military side and the science man them and all that. Do you know what I mean? You know, you can't overlook that. You can't overlook that. You understand? You can't overlook that. Right? Yes, it destabilized the world, and we know what happened. Do you understand? Right? But there was a time when that wasn't happening. They were both okay. They were both okay until the expansion. You know? They all used to, when you have the religious, and again, I don't know exactly, I wasn't there, but as I know it, that these people they used to, for an example, it's like what happened when they partitioned India. Same thing. When they partitioned India, that's when the problem started. They say that. I've watched documentaries and the man said that. We lived together. We celebrated each other's religious times. We live good. And then someone come along and says, you're this side, you're that side, and your neighbor become an enemy. Another place is Rwanda. Look what happened in Rwanda. You understand? So I'm not being biased. I'm showing you an example. Same thing with the Japanese and the Chinese. You know what I mean? And now today you got the Russian and the Ukrainian. There's like brothers and sisters fighting. Brothers and sisters fighting. So the fleeing of persecution, yeah, right? The Jewish refugees. So suggesting a DNA link or collaboration flips historical reality on its head. Israel's intelligence agency, right? The Mossad. Again, the Mossad, when they hunted them down, still hunt them down today. I remember they had the man was like about 80, 90 years old, and they found out that he was one of them. And they carry him to the court and they put him in prison. They said, never forget. You can learn something, black people, from that. Never forget that. That don't mean that you must go ill-treat nobody or nothing like that. With your kinte kunte 1 foot self. My name is Toby. No bother with that. You live good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to remember certain things. That don't mean that you're going to go and mistreat. That is against the law. That is against the law. That is against. I'm going to talk about the law of nature. You must not do that. Everybody come on a respect. You understand? A respect basis. You live that way, it's respected. I live my way, that's respected. Right? So again, you know, the people that escaped, yeah, them, the NAZI in Argentina, like Adolf Eichmann, were brought to justice. So now we're going to look at number 3 is Germans in Argentina versus Jamaica. So we have at the top of this table, right? We have 3 parts, so 4 parts. We have region, when they arrived, why they came, connections to Nazis. Argentina, mid-1800s to post-1945, right? That was when they arrived, why they came. European immigration waves in the 19th century, followed by a wave of fleeing N-word, Nazis, the Führer's men. Refugees after World War II, right? Why they came. And then the connections. Yes, it became a major haven for escaped war criminals. Jamaica. 1834 to 1838, right? Pre-World War II. Why they came. Brought as indentured labourers by the British colonial government to work plantations after the abolition of slavery. And it says, connection to the Nazis. No. This happened 100 years before World War II. So the Germans in Jamaica settled primarily in places like Seaford Town, often called Germantown. They were poor farmers and tradespeople from northern Germany, right? They were from northern Germany, not the Führer's men. Today, their descendants are fully integrated into Jamaican culture. Now, I could say integrated. Well, if they were integrated, then they would have been white. They would have been blacked out, wouldn't they? They would have been, you have a lot more. But they have kind of maintained, not to say all of them. You can't say all of them. No, not all of them. Right, but some of them, you may find that there was some interbreeding. But you got to remember, now this is flipped. This is flipped. This is like the diaspora being in parts of like Europe, yeah? And we are the minority against the majority in an alien place, right? So that flipped on its head in Jamaica. Now, you can't really blame them for not wanting to, you know what I mean? They've come to Jamaica now and they've settled in a place. They're going to try and protect their people, aren't they? They're, you know what I mean? They're not going to want their brother or sister go with someone else, and because they're scared. They're scared that, you know, they're scared. They're scared that something's going to happen to them. I'm just saying that's an angle. There's many angles. So you got your mind changing and deception tactics. So now the Führer's men, the N-word, were masters of psychological manipulation, utilizing a massive propaganda machine led by another guy. He's called Joseph as well. Goebbels. Again, the name alone would strike fear into your heart. Right? In my too. People, they wicked. However, the idea of mind-changing rulers controlling people globally through deception is best understood through historical propaganda methods rather than sci-fi mind control. Now, again, even when I said that they're wicked, there's some people that say that they're not wicked because they want their people to. So that is what I'm saying. That is their way, and I can't go against that. I believe that is wrong. It's wrong. You shouldn't do that. You understand? But to them, they are correct, and I can't. Again, you got to think of your own people. You want your own people to survive. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But the thing that is wrong, you know, you mustn't harm nobody else in that process. But then again, if someone is coming to harm you, you have to defend yourself. You can't just let people come and you'll be wiped out. You'll be wiped out. Sure, man. Anyway, so you got totalitarian control inside Germany. The regime, now I've gone way over my time here, took over the press, radio and schools to condition the population from childhood. They blamed minority groups, primarily the Jewish, for all economic hardships. Does it sound familiar? Deception, evading justice. When escaping to South America, the N-word used, the Führer's men, used total deception to hide, changing their names, learning Spanish, and blending into existing German immigrant communities as quiet farmers or mechanics to keep their pasts hidden from the world. JTV, every time.